It's easy to get distracted by the small stuff, especially today when there are distractions everywhere, aren't there? And I'm not doing the back in my day thing, I'm really not, but there are distractions everywhere. Shoot, they're in our hands at all times. Always a distraction. I was talking to my son the other day. One of the times where we let him have his phone, I had a 5-minute conversation with me, and here, daggone word, he's on his phone. I took it away again. You have to keep the big deal the big deal. Well, the big deal is the United States of America for you and me. It is a big deal because, not just because we love the country and we're patriots, it's a big deal because the United States of America is the country in which we live. I know that's a dumbed down point, just stay with me. And we need the country where we live, where my sons live, where hopefully the grandsons I have one day, or granddaughters, you know what I'm talking about, where they will live and their kids will live and their kids will live. We need the United States of America to stay together and stay prosperous and stay free, don't we? That's what we need. So what are the big deals that are going to end the United States of America? Let me ask you something. What you've talked about today with friends, family, political people, are they things that are critical for the United States of America? Or are they distractions? Even if they're, important, are they distractions? We spend a lot of time on distractions. There are two things that will end the United States of America. We are the most blessed by God country in the history of the world. I really believe that, not just because of our freedoms, our natural resources, a big ocean on each side. We're even geographically blessed. It's crazy how blessed we are. There are only two things that can sink a country with a $21 trillion economy: illegal immigration and debt. Illegal immigration and debt. The boat taking on water is the only thing that can bring this boat down. And this is not something I've just come to recently. I realize people are just now starting to wake up and see that we're going to pay $1.7 trillion in debt interest alone next year, and they're doing the math, and the numbers aren't adding up. I'm not Johnny-come-lately to this. I've been screaming about it for ages. I really lost my mind during COVID when I watched what was happening then. The GOP lined up for the last 4 years, and voted yes, and voted yes, and voted yes, and voted yes on multiple massive spending bills. Truth is, no one cares. And no one's going to care until the whole house of cards come crashing down. And everyone's going to look around and they're going to say, well, how'd this happen? How'd this happen? Well, here's the hard truth of it. Talk about making you uncomfortable. Here's the hard truth of it. When that happens, you and I will both have to go look in the mirror and say, that's on me. I never demanded better. So I never got better. You get what you get. Don't throw a fit. Man, I had so much hair back then. Anyway, look, our debt situation, just because of entitlements alone, set aside foreign aid and stuff like that, just entitlements alone, pre-COVID, our debt situation was going to doom us, because it grows exponentially. The more people are retiring, the more they're taking from it, that we're not getting the production into it that we were taking from it. It was always going to, it was that, I'll put it to you this way. Actually, this is the best way I could describe it. The entitlement situation in this country alone, it was the car at the top of the hill facing down the road, and there was a cliff at the end of the road. And what happened was, we didn't, start the car, but we threw it in neutral. And the car was already rolling. It was already heading down the cliff. And what we needed at the time, and this is for years, this is, probably predates you, predates me, but what we needed is we needed an adult to recognize it and have the courage to hop in the moving car, press the brake, put it in park, throw on the emergency brake, or even better, get in the car, start it, put it in reverse, and get it back up to the top of the hill. Let's get away from that cliff. That's what we needed. That's what we've needed forever. We've never had even one adult even attempt to do so. Not in the Democrat Party and not in the Republican Party. All they've ever done, Republican presidents, Democrat senators, Republican senators, it doesn't matter who they are, all they've done is spend and spend and spend and spend and spend. So each and every person, instead of hopping in the car to throw it in reverse and back it up, every person has actually hopped in the car, started the car, and then gassed it. Faster and faster and faster, more spending. And then COVID comes. This was pre-COVID. And then COVID comes, and we take everything that has us jetting towards that cliff, and we just punch the gas even more. It's like we gave us a juice of nitrous, heading right for it now. Republicans, more stimmy money, shut down the economy, another stimulus check, here's another trillion here, here's another trillion there. And this shows you how insane these people are in D.C. After all that insane COVID spending, where we're just hammering the gas and printing money and blowing it out of the water. Well, nobody slowed down. They didn't slow down. COVID's long gone. If it ever really was here that bad. COVID's long gone. All the lockdown stuff, long gone. Yet the deficits, the debt, it's all going up at pretty much the same pace. So we got in during COVID and hammered the car with nitrous. And once COVID left, we still haven't stopped. And now the cliff is coming. What I said about the interest on the debt next year should be staggering to every person watching. So allow me to explain it in this way. Very quickly, as in next year, the interest on the debt is probably going to be the largest item in the budget. And very shortly after that, probably the next year, it will be by far the largest item in the budget. And very, very shortly after that, you're not going to be able to make the interest payments. Now, let me ask you something, just so we can lay all this out here so we're all on the same page. If you take out a home loan, you get a mortgage, buy a home, and let's say it's an interest-only loan. Okay, didn't have enough money to pay on the principal. I get it. I've had one myself. What happens when you stop paying your payments? If, let's say, you don't have the money, what happens? Yeah. As a nation, here's how it works. When we start missing interest payments, other nations around the world will stop buying our debt. That will take away our ability to spend more than we make. Everything stops like that. And that is maybe the best case scenario, because the worst case scenario is probably the more likely one. Warren Buffett actually talks about it here. I'll show you in a second. The more likely scenario is this. All these dirtballs in D.C., Republican and Democrat, when that debt crisis gets here, they're going to look out at the population of this country like hungry wolves look at a wounded baby deer crawling across the prairie, and they're going to come for you, and they're going to come for me. And when I say come for us, I'm talking about our money. They're going to print us into death, and they're going to tax us into death, and it is coming. Don't just take it from this oracle. Listen to the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett.
I would say with the present fiscal policies, I think that something has to give, and I think that higher taxes are quite likely. They may decide that someday they don't want the fiscal deficit to be this large, because that has some important consequences, and they may not want to decrease spending a lot, and they may decide they'll take a larger percentage of what we earn, and we'll pay it.
How could we get here? That's really the question, isn't it? How could we take all these blessings from God, this prosperous nation, all this freedom, all this stuff? How could we be so careless and irresponsible with it that now here we are? I mean, we're deadbeats. We've buried ourselves financially so badly we're deadbeats? Look, I'm sorry to put it that way. That hurts to say about, me. I'm an American citizen, the country I love. But that uncle you have who just got his 4th car repoed, and he's always borrowing money from somebody, and he's maxed out 3 credit cards, and he's living on the street right now, what do you call him? You call him a deadbeat because he took every blessing he ever had, and he squandered it all, and he borrowed endless amounts of money. He just ruined us. And look, part of this is the morons we have running this country, and they're morons, and most Americans don't actually know they're morons. It's not that you can't get people to criticize the government or politicians. That's always easy. This guy's an idiot and that guy sucks. That's easy. But what people don't really, really grasp, most Americans, you will, but the normies out there, what they won't grasp is this, that these highly, highly educated people, Harvard and Yale and all these things, they're actually, because the education system is broken and communist and awful, our most educated people are actually the dumbest people on the planet. And these are the people who run the monetary system.
The U.S. government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
Why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do? They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Because they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah. So a lot of times, at least to my ear with MMT, the language and the concepts can be kind of unnecessarily confusing, but there is no question that the government prints money and then it uses that money to I guess I can't really talk. I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about. Because it's like the government clearly prints money. It does it all the time, and it clearly borrows. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this debt and deficit conversation. So I don't think there's anything confusing there.
What else do I have to say? These are the people who run the financial system, and now our elites, the ones who should be trying to save us. If they had any sense of honor or duty or obligation, when you're the Treasury Secretary, the head of the Fed, President, Senate, you should be meeting right now to try to save America, try to save our way of life, to make hard decisions, hard cuts. This has to go, this has to go. My goodness, we have to get rid of this. That's what they should be doing. But now, when we need them the most, they've just become, all of them, become mouthpieces for the regime, trying to convince everyone that the boat isn't actually sinking. Janet Yellen, she's basically given up at this point in time. Here she is out here now with everyone suffering, grocery prices up 40%, and the Treasury Secretary is now just out there telling you how great everything is.
I think we've got a good, strong economy. We've got very strong domestic demand. Consumers are holding up. Some low-income consumers are perhaps exhausting their buffers of saving that they built up during the pandemic. We're seeing a little bit more distress at the household level there. But generally, households are in very good financial shape. Our financial system is generally quite strong.
Yeah. We're going to have a talk. Just you and me, we're going to have a talk here. First, let's address something that Trump put up today. This is the second time he's said something like this when it comes to the FBI. Trump went on social media and he said this. I'll just read him. This is verbatim, direct quote. "The new FBI building should be built in Washington, D.C., not Maryland, and be the centerpiece of my plan to totally renovate and rebuild our capital city into the most beautiful and safest city anywhere in the world. The FBI must be in walking distance to the DOJ building, in that the DOJ and FBI have to work closely together. A 2-minute walk to a meeting is far better than a traffic-laden 2-hour drive to Greenbelt, Maryland. Likewise, having the FBI in D.C. is important for ending the violent crime, which I will do quickly. Okay. I'll tell you what, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. I just want to go over a couple quick things. First of all, you know that Stalin didn't kill a single person after he took power? I mean, physically, him pulling the trigger. Not one. Do you know that? Not a single record of that. His secret state police did. Mao didn't lift a finger after he took power. Didn't lift a finger. But he had men who would do that for him. They went and massacred all kinds of people for him. Let's talk a little bit about the FBI, shall we? Let's talk about the FBI that raided Donald Trump's home. And so hold on, I want to make sure I have all this right, because we have Julie Kelly coming on to talk about this in a little bit. Yesterday, 24 hours ago, we found out that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, after they raided Trump's home, they staged pictures, those pictures you saw online of the classified documents, that was all staged, and the whole classified thing, Julie will cover it later, but yeah, they made those pages, and then they published it online. They ran an op. The FBI ran an information op on Donald Trump. The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, since January 6th, has already hunted down more than 1,000 of Donald Trump's strongest supporters. 99.9% of these people are nonviolent, first-time offenders who've had their lives ruined. Christopher Wray has discussed the fact that they've been hunting down Trump's own supporters. As recently as 2 weeks ago, he went on NBC and bragged about it.
Let me ask you about January 6th. Are you still pursuing January 6 cases?
We have any number of January 6 cases underway.
Former President Trump has referred to those who have been in prison or are facing trial as hostages. Do you see those individuals who took part in the January 6 riots as hostages?
I see the defendants in the January 6 cases as criminal defendants who are being charged with federal crimes and are in front of independent courts as part of our legal system.
Yeah. The FBI has been sending SWAT teams to the homes. Do you remember what they did to Mark Houck? You know what, let's talk about something specific. Do you remember Mark Houck? He was a sidewalk preacher, a pro-life advocate. He got in a little tussle with some kind of abortion-loving demon, and he didn't do anything wrong, so local law enforcement completely blew the charge off. And then they decided they were going to charge him, Biden's DOJ, they were going to charge him with the FACE Act. And Houck is a very peaceful, kind man, family man, wife, several kids. Had his lawyer reach out to the FBI, and he said, hey, if there's a problem, if I'm going to be arrested or whatever, let me know. I will come turn myself in. Good law enforcement agencies love that because it's nonviolent and there's no chance for violence. You love it when somebody comes in on his own peacefully, hey, put the cuffs on me, take the mugshot, turn myself in. The FBI actually told Mark Houck, no, don't turn yourself in. They then sent a SWAT team to his home and stuck long guns in the face of him, his wife, and his children. The Federal Bureau of Investigation just did that. Do I need to remind you that the Federal Bureau of Investigation decided to wage war on all these angry parents showing up at school board meetings? The moms and dads, they would show up at these school board meetings and they were upset. They didn't want Junior to learn to hate white people and they didn't want him to learn to be a tranny. And they showed up and they let their voices be heard. And the Federal Bureau of Investigation met to decide which counterterrorism designation they should put on angry school board moms.
Mr. Friend, you ever been to a school board meeting?
Yes, I have.
FBI ever sent you to the parking lot of a school board meeting?
Yes, they have.
And in the parking lot of a school board meeting where the FBI sent you, You were taking down information regarding people's license plates.
That's correct.
Now, it wasn't the first time you'd been to a school board meeting, was it?
No, I went on my own as a private citizen.
As a parent.
Yes.
And so there you were. It must have been quite an interesting perspective. There you were taking down the information of people, parents attending school board meetings on behest of the FBI, and you had been one of those parents at a school board meeting. How did that feel?
Well, after I attended privately, my colleagues teased me that they were probably going to start investigating me.
Yeah. Do you remember the 2020 election? And, you know, we love to say things like it was stolen, rigged, whatever, but there are a lot of different interpretations of that. But there is one way that the 2020 election was very much rigged in the favor of Joe Biden. You don't have to believe in hacked voting machines or something like that to know what we now know. You see, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, they had a laptop turned into them. It was legally turned into them by a computer repairman. He found many felonies committed by Hunter Biden on this laptop. The FBI viewed the laptop, knew about the felonies, and then promptly hid the laptop from public view. They wouldn't investigate it, trying to protect Joe Biden. And then the FBI, because of wiretaps, found out that the New York Post was getting ready to run a story talking about the contents of that laptop. And this is in the lead up to the 2020 election, the election Joe Biden eventually won. The Federal Bureau of Investigation got panicked that it might hurt Joe Biden's election chances. And so they ran to meet with Facebook, informing social media companies that the very much true story, and they knew it was true at the time, remember they had the laptop, the true story that was coming out, they told these Facebook, Twitter companies, they told them that it was Russian disinformation and told them to censor it. Remember when Mark Zuckerberg came out and admitted it?
The FBI, I think, basically came to us, some folks on our team, and was like, hey, just so you know, like, you should be on high alert. We thought that there was a lot of Russian propaganda in the 2016 election. We have it on notice that basically there's about to be some kind of dump of that's similar to that. So just be vigilant.
The FBI the special agent who did that, his name is Elvis Chan. He actually went on camera multiple times afterwards, and he bragged about it.
I was very involved. Our field office, FBI San Francisco, was very involved in helping to protect the U.S. elections in 2020. And I think we can all agree, or I think many of us can agree, that it was a very safe election. We talked with all of these entities I mentioned regularly, at least on a monthly basis, and right before the election, probably on a weekly basis, right? If they were seeing anything unusual, if we were seeing anything unusual, sharing intelligence with technology companies, with social media companies, so that they could protect their own platforms, right?
The new FBI building should be built in Washington, D.C., not Maryland, and be the centerpiece. He wants it to be the centerpiece of my plan to totally renovate and rebuild our capital city. It is the most beautiful, safest in the world. The FBI must be in walking distance to the DOJ. All this was coordinated with the FBI and DOJ. Trump wants them closer together. This is unacceptable. I don't give a crap how offended you are right now. I don't give a crap if this upsets you. This is ridiculous. It's unacceptable, and it's naive to the point of being childlike. This is not draining the swamp. This is ensuring more mud, more muck, more filth comes into the swamp. And I don't know what kind of crap is going on over there in the Trump campaign, but you can count me out if this is what I get. If I get more abortion, more vaccine salesmen, new FBI building, then tell me why I should give a crap who wins this November. What do I get? Do I get savings, money savings, spending savings? Not a dime. He spent more than Obama. What do I get? Nothing is what I get. I'm so sick of this crap, and I'm sick of people who won't wake up and start pushing back against him on this stuff from his own team. His own team better get Trump in line, and Trump himself better get himself in line. I cannot take this naivete of him trying to be liked by the mortal enemies that are destroying the United States of America. We will not have a United States of America 50 years from now unless the FBI is completely abolished or in the very least brought to heel. We cannot afford 4 years of Trump sucking up to him. How about a new building, guys? Sucking up to the media, trying to be liked by everybody who hates you and hates me and hates the country. And I won't abide by it. And if you want that, if you want Trump pom-poms every single night, you have tuned into the wrong freaking show. Change the channel. I am sick about what's happening in my country right now, and I demand a fighter. I demand somebody who's going to go do something about it. I can't take these lame boomer takes. The FBI, oh, freaking gag me. Gosh. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. They're going to roll out Obamacare for illegals, the dreamers. 25 million Americans, as we stand right now, are uninsured. Bidens are going to roll out Obamacare for illegals. Now, that make you angry? Good, it should. It makes me angry. What can you do about it, though? Well, let me ask you something. Did you show up and vote in the last Republican primary you had? And if you did show up and vote, you should know that already makes you rare. You're already in the top 25%. 25% of Republicans actually show up and vote. So let's say you did show up and vote. Now, let me ask you this. When you showed up and voted in your Republican primary, did you show up and vote just because that's what you do every time? And did you vote for the congressman you currently have? Or did you show up and try to vote out the dirtball GOPer you've had who's been there screwing you over every single time? Did you vote for the guy you watch on Fox News, or did you actually vote for some kind of change out there? Did you show up and vote for Don Bacon?
Hi, I'm Congressman Don Bacon, and I represent the 2nd District of Nebraska, which includes Douglas County, parts of Sarpy County, and soon all of Saunders County, with Omaha being the largest city. Our district has over 2,200 dreamers. Young men and women who are part of the very fabric of our community and who, every day, contribute to the overall betterment of what makes our district so good. For 10 years now, we've been ensuring these young adults do not have to live in fear of being deported, but it's long overdue for a permanent solution.
That's Don Bacon from Red, Nebraska. GOP voter after GOP voter, when it comes time to primary, they sit at home. I can't go catching the game tonight. Primary? What? What's that? And sadly, that's better than the GOP voter who shows up in the primary, because he shows up and you know what they do. Honey, who are we voting for? We're voting for Bacon, right? I saw his yard signs and I saw him on TV. He seems so nice. What a nice young man. Let's vote Don Bacon. And you go vote for the same dork you see on Fox News. And then the next week you go home and you read something about Joe Biden giving amnesty to a bunch of illegals, and you scream and yell and you say, who did this? You did this. If you do not participate in GOP primaries and try to oust the person who is currently in office, you are as responsible for the state of this country as any communist. You are. We have to stop excusing our side. It's time to stop complaining. It's time to start getting involved. If I seem hot, it's because we just had a local election here in my town last week. Voting was Monday and Tuesday. And by the grace of God, we were able to mobilize enough people to get this critical local election won. But I showed up to vote at the end of the day. I had 15 minutes left. I had to work. I had to get in there and vote. And the lady told me it was one of 2 locations in the entire town. She had less than 100 people walk in that day. Disgraceful. You know what I find? I don't know. It creates in me like this feeling that I'm failing or not doing good enough in a good way. You know what does that for me? Fat people when I see them jogging. That's what does that for me. When I'm driving, it just happened to me today on the way to work. Driving to work, fat lady on the sidewalk, she's huge, and she's out there jogging. And you could tell she's suffering, in pain. But out there going through pain, putting in the work to make herself better. And I've been out of shape before. My body type does not lend me to ever being fat, but I've certainly been fat, just a longer version of it. I've been out of shape before. And I've been there before, just starting back in the gym, starting working out. And it sucks, friggin' sucks. And the worst part is this. Today, probably as we speak right now, that lady's at home. She's back home. Hopefully she made it. Her feet hurt, body hurts, knees hurt. She doesn't feel good. She feels better than she did, but she doesn't. She's not laying around at home thinking, I feel great right now. She's looking down at herself. She knows, dang it, I'm still fat. Everything hurts. And this is the critical moment for her. This is going to go somewhere. I'm going somewhere with this. Stay with me. But this is the critical moment for that woman. She can look down right now at herself and feel all the pain, and she can quit, or she can realize that the pain is making her better. She's beginning. So she doesn't see it yet. She's not a dime yet. She doesn't see it yet, but it's coming if she'll just stay with it and keep doing the work. Let's talk about you, and let's talk about me. How many days do we sit here, Stu and me, screaming about the GOP, the low-T GOP, GOP sucks, GOP this, GOP that, and all those things are warranted. All that stuff is true. The GOP does suck. Democrats are evil, Republicans are useless. Everyone knows this. The GOP is stupid and useless, and they're weak, and they never fight back for us. All that stuff's true, yes. However, there are, right underneath the surface, good things beginning to happen inside of the GOP as far as changing the face of the GOP. It's happening at school board levels across the country. You don't get headlines about that. It's happening at state levels. Right here in Texas, here in a little while, we're going to have Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on. We'll talk to him about this. But right here in Texas, we had a bunch of rhino losers in the state GOP. A bunch of them got bounced in their primary races. It's already happening in the House and the Senate. A lot of the older loser types, the Mitt Romney types, they're retiring, they're getting out. Change is coming. We are fat right now. We're fat. It hurts. And we want to look good and we want to feel good now. But we are beginning to put in the work. And you should feel better about this. In fact, let's talk about all this when it comes to this Mike Johnson stuff, because that's all over the news today. Marjorie Taylor Greene had a little sit-down powwow with Mike Johnson. Who knows what kind of boring stuff they talked about in there. He's going to try to get her to avoid vacating her seat. Whatever she's doing. Anyway, we talked to Chip Roy about it last week.
Everybody says, oh, the sky's going to fall. You don't have a speaker. What will you do? I don't know. Stop screwing up the country. Stop making it worse. Stop spending money we don't have. Stop empowering freaking, a new FISA bill. Stop giving money overseas. Like, how much worse can it get? The MTV, the motion to vacate, from my standpoint, I wouldn't have used it last fall. I was very public. I thought Kevin, while not perfect, we were moving the needle in the right direction. Okay, we had the fight. We picked a guy that on paper was, more conservative. And unfortunately, for 6 months, it's been a complete failure. Look, I think we need to have a whole new fresh start in the GOP next January. We need to beg the American people to vote for us because the other side is so bad. We need to beg that they will give us power, and then we need to actually form a structure that will allow us to deliver. That means wholesale changes. We're working on some of that right now.
We're working on it. How should you feel about the whole Mike Johnson debacle? Well, specifically, you shouldn't stress about it. This specific story. Mike Johnson is probably not going to go anywhere. Mike Johnson, yes, he is a Democrat's dream. He's a Democrat's dream. He's passing everything they want passed while at the same time giving them cover because the GOP controls the House. So he's passing everything on the Democrats' wish list, funding the FBI, Ukraine, you name it, nothing for the border. He's doing everything Speaker Hakeem Jeffries is doing, yet taking all the blame because Republicans hold the House. So he's not going anywhere. But even if he was, you shouldn't stress it. Anyway, you want more evidence that Democrats want him there? Here's Grandma Vodka.
Madam Speaker, how are you?
How are you, Chad?
Good. Good to see you. Do you support Leader Jeffries' move to support the Speaker, the current Speaker, on the motion to table?
I support our leader. I think he's very much in touch with our caucus, and yes, I will support him.
What does this say about Speaker Johnson if he has to turn to the minority party to survive?
He doesn't have to turn to minorities. What the minority party is saying is we support the integrity of the House of Representatives, and we will not let it be littered by nonsense.
Looks like Nancy was having a pretty good morning anyway. So, yeah, look, Hakeem Jeffries, in case you think I'm just reading too much into this, Hakeem Jeffries flat out came out and said it. Yeah, we're going to protect him. Why wouldn't we protect him? He's doing everything we want.
Even though we're in the minority, we effectively have been governing as if we were in the majority because we continue to provide a majority of the votes necessary to get things done. Those are just the facts.
He keeps getting them the votes. He keeps whipping up the votes. Every Democrat thing. Remember Chuck Schumer went on the Senate floor and said we didn't cut a nickel. He gives them everything. Okay, so it's bad, right? I got it. It's bad. However, no matter how this turns out, things are changing. The next Congress, whether Democrats control it or Republicans control it, you know at least two gentlemen who won't be there anymore for sure. Mike Gallagher and Ken Buck. Mike Gallagher and Ken Buck, two gigantic losers who've been part of the problem forever. Why aren't they there? They're retiring now. Retirement after retirement after retirement. The old GOP knows its days are numbered and they are being removed. I want us to stay involved in primaries and get involved in primaries. If you're upset about the useless GOP, get out and go for a run. Most of the GOP primaries have not even happened yet this year. Did you know that? Did you know that you and me, we have the ability to remake every single GOPer in the House if we want. We have all the power with our votes right here. If we get off our butts and start participating, I should say keep participating, because we're slowly but surely getting better. You're mad about this, no border security. You're mad about no spending, endless money for Ukraine and Taiwan, Israel. Everyone gets money except the working man. You're mad that the GOP can't speak forcefully about anything except for anti-Semitism on the campus at Columbia. I'm mad about all these things too, but what are we going to do about it? Are you just mad about getting fat, or do you want to go for a run? We're running. People have been running. Normal people, just like you, have been digging in, slowly but surely, getting more involved and going for a run. Look, we can point out all the problems, and we will. You know, we're happy to do that on the show. We'll be back to do it again tomorrow. I just wanted to encourage you tonight. Get involved if you're not. If you haven't gone for that first run, go for that first run. If you've already gone for it, you're starting to get involved, and every day you're disheartened. Mike Johnson sucks. Mitch McConnell sucks. Everything sucks. Yeah. It sucks after the first run. It really does. You're not bikini ready after one run. It's not how it works. However, you've taken the first huge step in the right direction. And we anti-communists on the right, we have taken the first huge step in the right direction. Keep running, all right? Get up tomorrow and do it again. By the way, I said all that. Don't go for a run if you're really fat. It's bad for your joints. Just go out and go for a walk, okay? Just a nice long walk. You'll probably enjoy it. All right?